Good evening and welcome to the Cabinet meeting. It's now 7 p.m. and I would like to start this meeting. I am Councillor Lynn Worrell. I would like to remind everyone present that this meeting is being live streamed and recorded for publication on the Council's website. Apologies for absence. Rihanna, do we have any apologies?
No apologies.
Okay, thank you. Item 2, minutes. I move that the minutes of the Cabinet meeting of the 18th of June 2025 be approved as a correct record. Are there any comments on the accuracy of the minutes? No. Agreed. Item 3, I have not agreed to any items of urgent business. Item 4, does anyone have any declarations of interest to make? Can't see any? No. Item 5, statements of the leader. I do not have any statements for tonight's meeting. Item 6, briefings on policy, budget and other issues. None this evening. No petitions have been submitted by members of the public. Item 8, a question has been submitted by Councillor Rigby, and I would propose that it is dealt with at the time of the substantive report at item 14 when that is considered. Is that okay with you, Councillor Rigby? Okay, thank you. Item 9. I am not aware of any matters referred to the Cabinet for consideration by an overview committee and scrutiny, save for the 2 briefing notes from the Corporate Overview and Scrutiny Committee, which are contained within the agenda. They relate to the Local Government Reorganisation Report and the Annual Corporate Performance Report, and I propose that these will be dealt with when the substantive reports are considered at item 11 and 13 of this agenda. Item 10, delegated decisions since the last meeting. A list of delegated decisions taken since the last meeting is provided in the agenda and it is published online. Item 11, Greater Essex Local Government Reorganisation Devolution Update. Please note a briefing note has been provided from the Overview and Scrutiny Committee that considered this item and is included in the agenda. So this is my report, so you will get to talk at some point, hopefully. So this report provides Cabinet with an update on the work to deliver the benefits of devolution and local government reorganisation for Thurrock. So I'll take it in different stages. So on devolution, the report provides an update on recent developments, including the publication of the English Devolution and Community Empowerment Bill. On Thursday last week, Government confirmed that Essex has met the statutory tests, which was after the publication of this agenda. But therefore, we will go ahead with the election for an Essex Mayor in May 2026. Over the summer, we will continue to work with Essex councils and statutory organisations. This work will ensure that a new shadow combined authority will be set up in the autumn, giving the new mayor the right framework and some key deliverables from day one after their election. Local government reform. As set out in my recent public statements and as I have explained to Corporate Overview and Scrutiny Committee, work has been ongoing across Greater Essex to look at proposals for new unitary councils. It is worth noting that the White Paper advised the councils should look for working models of 500,000 residents. This is not set in stone, but we should use this as a base for building the business cases. All business cases need to be financially viable and will be measured against CIPFA guidelines, and council should be able to sustain future financial shocks. The 5 unitary model is looking at a smaller is better model and would give us a council of about 370,000. However, it does not provide financial workable options without substantive government support, and this worries me. The 3 model risks creating councils that are too large and lose their sense of place. This option would see Thurrock part of a council with about 730,000 residents. We currently have about 178,000 residents here in Thurrock, so looking at the government's guidelines, it is the 500 plus that they recommend, plus Thurrock without any growth. I am not confident either of these proposals work for the people of Thurrock. I have therefore asked officers to look at an alternative around 4 unitary authorities. Our proposal will explore to create sustainable councils across all of Essex as required by the government using their criteria. We have been considering the merits of 5 and others, and this analysis will support our own proposal. Last week we launched our community consultation exercise to ensure that the views of our residents are front and centre in every proposal. I would encourage everyone to take part and feed in your views by going to the Thurrock Council website. Work on the proposal is live and we are trying to keep members and partners updated in real time. I'm grateful for ONS who have this as a standing item as they appreciate that this is emerging work and we welcome their honest scrutiny. In that vein, there is an emerging picture of what an effective configuration of 4 councils would look like. We are asking members of the working group tomorrow to consider this, and we'll ask ONS to consider it in August. We will continue working in partnership and listening to residents, and we will be attending summer events across Thurrock, speaking to residents and local organisations. Ahead of the final proposals being submitted to the government on the 26th of September, we have 2 more ONS meetings, one in August and one in early September, and meetings with the member working group across that time too. So when I talked about both devolution and government reorganisation, I did promise that we would engage as much as possible, and I think that what we've done so far is set that, and the work that we've got planned to engage as far as we can, both in this council and out in the community, is as far as we can go. So hopefully I'm happy to take any questions. So there will be an item on tomorrow night's council where I'll take you through the presentation, through my proposal, and take any questions there. So again, tomorrow night is open for questions. So I think that we've been very, very open about the work that we're doing around this. Thank you. Any questions? No? All questioned out? Okay, thank you. So moving on to item 12. That's me again, I'm sorry. So this is Thurrock Council's improvement and recovery. So this is the 3rd report on our improvement and recovery outcomes and success criteria covering a period to the end of March. Taken together, the performance report next to the agenda, this forms part of how we assess the impact we are having in improving our services for residents. The detail within the report highlights that while significant progress has been made, there remains a long way to go and specific areas required new focus. In particular, these are internal audit, risk, workforce development and performance management and transformation. However, I do want to highlight the fantastic work in these services and across the council that we are doing to continue to fix the foundations of this council. This was also reflected in the Minister's recent letter to me. Again, since the publication of this report, the government has confirmed the new intervention directions, which have now come into effect. These new directions extend the intervention until April 2028, with a review next year to see what further improvements have been made. I am actively considering and discussing with commissioners what the milestones ought to be in the coming months to show significant evidence, and my priority continues to steer this organisation to achieve meaningful transformation into a council which delivers sustainable services and meets the budget challenges that we face. And I'm happy to take any questions on that.
Thank you. it's really good news. But like you, I think where everybody has focused so heavily in digging ourselves out from where we were, I think it's like you were talking about, what are the next milestones, what are the next gatekeeping checks that we need to do, because we've got to find a way of getting away from that additional support, and it's how we do that on a sort of a phased approach, and what the criteria is to get to each of those phases. So I'm not sure if you're sort of thinking along those lines.
That's exactly what we do need to do. We need to be able to navigate our way, out of, over the next 2 years. What does that pathway look like, and how will we know that we've improved, and that we can move, take some of the pressures at the works, and take some of the reliance on commissioners over the time, so that we can, start to operate as an independent council, and I'm really keen that as we go into a new authority, we go in fresh, so that is certainly the plan for me, is to make sure that, we carry on improving, and that the only way we do that is if we set ourselves these, we're really, really clear about them, we measure them, so that we can make sure that we have, got a pathway. Sorry, thank you. So the recommendations are to note the progress made on the council's improvement and recovery, and 2.2 to refer this report to full council for the consideration of all members. Are the recommendations agreed? Thank you. So we're now moving on to item 13, which is my last report of the night. So this is the Quarter 4 Corporate Performance Report and Annual Report. So I'm pleased to introduce the Quarter 4 End of Year Report, Corporate Performance Report and Annual Report for 24-25. So taking them one at a time, the performance report. This takes our performance reporting on further by providing analysis of what the detailed corporate performance reporting is telling us. This can be found in section 8 of the covering report, and gives greater insight to Cabinet and residents about what is working well, where we are experiencing demand pressures, and where services are working to improve performance. The annual report. For the first time in recent memory, this council has produced an annual report. Read alongside the quarterly performance report, the annual report takes a wider view and is aimed at the public audience. It articulates tangible outcomes and achievements under each of the priority themes, as well as setting out opportunities and challenges. I just need to point out that regrettably there is an error. And I have to advise Cabinet that on page 13 of the annual report, it should be minuted that the first 2 sentences of paragraph 6 should be removed. And also I'd like to have it noted that, we are not accepting that everything's rosy in this report, and Cabinet members are, and we take it from the advice from the briefing report, that we have to make sure that we really look at what we're achieving and how we measure it, and that, where there is poor performance and it continues to be poor performance, that we have to make sure that, we do send items to Cabinet. We can't just carry on, and if it's red, it stays red. This is a two-way, and we should, if we feel that there's an area that Cabinet should be looking at, I would like to see that we certainly send them those items to Cabinet. So I would urge you, and that is something that they did pick up in the corporate overview and scrutiny as well. Okay. Does anybody have any comments on their areas, or do they have any questions on this report? Councillor Watson.
Thank you. I think on my areas, mine's mostly green, but I think now we need to look at them and start stretching them a little bit more, because even though they are within their tolerance, we have still got issues going with major projects coming through, but then we have got the staff now to be able to catch up on that. So I think the next thing I'll be doing is stretching my targets.
Thank you. Thank you, Councillor Morris.
Yeah, very similar to what Lee was saying, except if I notice on the front of the annual report, Lee's got the same jumper on, so I think it's really timely that she's worn the same top. But exactly the same. I mean, I've already spoken to Patrick about working together with that, and obviously the lead officers, to make sure that we've got the right metrics in place to really stretch going forward, because as you said in the last report, we've really got to come out of daily firefighting and moving into more of a BAU and a development of this council. So I think it's a great opportunity. We've got a good foundation, and I think we've got a great opportunity to move forward.
Councillor Hartstead.
Thank you, Leader. Just in terms of children's services and also skills, the areas that are red, I can remember this time last year having the same conversation about them, which obviously is not good. However, to mitigate that, just to say that they are national issues that, you know, we are following the unfortunate red trend in terms of the specific areas, but again, they are issues that are raised all the time, and I raise them with the DCS all the time. But again, they are, I'd say, unfortunately, they are national issues that everybody is well aware of.
Councillor Hooper.
Yes, in the plan, the direct payments is often seen as red, but I'd like to point out that the standard that the council already have is above the regional and national average, so we're actually set quite an ambitious target.
Thank you. Anybody else? Thank you. Yeah, I'm just keen to, you know, make sure that we do really keep an eye on these, you know, and one for me that continues to sit there and is how members' inquiries are dealt with, and I know that I get lots of emails about that, so I certainly think that that is an area that we should be sending to scrutiny to just try and it's something that we'd never quite fix in this council, but if we did do that, it would just improve, you know, how the residents see us, and this is about the visuals around that. So there's those sort of areas that, you know, we really should be considering sending them back so that we do not continually just see those. And even if they're just sitting, something just sits at amber forever, you know, is amber good enough? You know, that's, so again, I just think that, you know, please, I just urge you all just to keep an eye on your performances and your colour coding, really. Thank you. No more? So I'm going to move to the recommendations. So 2.1, note the quarterly performance update report and progress made at the end of the fourth quarter of 24-25 in delivering the year one priority milestones and metrics of the corporate plan. 2.2, note and endorse the annual report 24-25 as a record of achievement in delivering the corporate plan. 2.3, consider the data presented provides an opportunity to agree milestones and metrics for 25-26 that focus on areas that require improvements and best indicate achievements of the corporate plan priorities. And 2.4, as discussed, consider recommending any areas of concern within the remits of the overview and scrutiny committees to the chair of those respective committees. Agreed? Agreed. Okay, thank you. And we're now moving on to item 14, the NHS Health Check Programme. Councillor Rigby has submitted a question in relation to this item. I will allow Councillor Hooper to present the item, and then Councillor Rigby, you can ask your question.
Thank you, Leader. So today, the report seeks Cabinet's approval for a contract for the NHS Health Check Programme. The NHS Health Check Programme is a statutory programme that the local authority must provide. The contract is for 5 years. This includes a 2-year extension period to reflect the rolling 5 years. The health checks aim at people between the ages of 40 and 74. The exception would be for people who've already had a diagnosis of cardiovascular disease, but everyone else is actually eligible. Cardiovascular disease, people have been diagnosed with that are supported in a different way. The health checks are important in helping improve health conditions. So that would be early diagnosis, preventing health conditions, or just knowing that your health is okay. The contract is due to commence on the 1st of October 2025 with an estimated value of £1,748,358, which is funded through the Public Health Grant. So it's not a council grant, it's a health grant. Historically, the take-up of this has been poor, both nationally and locally. The current service is provided by GP practice, but the proposal is that the contract is given to the 4 PCNs in Thurrock. This will make monitoring the contract far easier and easier to hold accountability. The following key performance indicators will be included in the corporate plan. There will also be additional KPIs that health will be monitored under the performance of the contract. So the 2 areas we're looking at to monitor under the corporate plan is over the 5-year period, the PCNs are required to invite 100% of the patients eligible for an NHS health check. The PCN are required to deliver NHS health checks at least to 75% of the patients identified as a core risk cohort. Now, it's not an endless list, but just to give you an idea of the cohort is people with high BMI, smokers, people who've had previous high blood pressure, some particular ethnicities, living in a deprived area, families with a history of cardiovascular disease, and people with mental illness. Most people have not heard about the health checks. So to help improve the uptake of the NHS health checks, Public Health have agreed to work with the Council and Mid and South Essex ICB's communication teams that would do some joint work to ensure residents / patients are aware of the importance of the benefits of receiving these health checks. This will be rolled out before the contract goes live, but there'll be ongoing comms programme. Right, I'm happy to take questions.
And we have one for you already, Councillor. Here you come. Councillor Rigby, please ask your question.
Thank you, Chair. With regards to the second targeted letter to patients with high risk indicators, given that the intention is to detect cardiovascular disease risks in unidentified patients and hence reduce health inequalities, would it not be best to send to everyone who does not take up the first offer of an appointment?
Thank you for your question, Councillor. We have carefully designed the model to maximise the impact on the population's health, particularly around inequalities, with the resources available to the primary care network to deliver NHS health check services as set out in the contract. Each round of invites will include a reminder to non-respondents. This will be the responsibility of the primary care network as a provider of this service, and it's something that will be monitored as part of the contract. In addition, the Council will be working jointly with the communication teams with the NHS to promote this service to the broader community, as I've already stated. There are also plans put in place to increase the capacity of public health grant funds to train some of our community workers to promote targeted areas where there's there's data that suggests there's a low uptake on health checks. So that tends to be aiming at our poorer communities.
Councillor Rigby, you're entitled to a second question. Would you like to ask one?
Yes, please.
Okay.
And will there be a choice of locations and time slots to include evenings and weekends?
That's a question I do not know the answer to. I think I'll probably have to come back to you, but there'll be a range of appointments. So from daytime appointments to evening appointments. I know there are concerns about actually getting people who work to these health check appointments, and that is something that I am talking to officers about. But I can't give you a definitive answer, but I do take your point.
Okay, we'll get something written out to you once he's got that. Okay. Councillor Hooper, would you like to read your recommendations? Sorry, maybe not. Lee had a question. Hold on one moment. Sorry, Lee.
That's right. Thank you. Thank you for your report. Can I just ask you a quick question on it, please, Councillor Hooper? If the PCN is failing in its targets, what will we be doing and what action will be taken?
There are quarterly contract monitoring meetings with the PCNs as part of the contract. If a particular PCN is failing, then we would try and get the failing PCN to work at to learn from the good practice of other PCNs. Also, I'd suggest that the PCNs will be getting together to look at how they can actually meet these targets. So these will be monitored as part of the contract, and if a PCN continues to fail after continuous support, then we'll have to review the contract with that PCN.
Thank you.
Does that answer?
Thank you.
Yeah, okay. Councillor Morris, good.
Just very quickly, so I'm aware that the previous contract we were only paying for services delivered. Is that similar on this contract as well?
Thank you, Councillor. That's exactly the same.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. No more questions? Councillor Hooper, now you can read your recommendations.
Right. For reasons set out in the report, Cabinet is recommended to 2.1. Agree the contract for NHS Health Check Programme to commence from the 1st of October 2025 for a period of 3 years to September 2028, with an additional extension period for 2 years from the 1st of October 2028 to the 30th of September 2030. The contract has an estimated total value of £1,748,358. This includes the 2-year extension period.
Great.
All agreed? All agreed. Thank you. Moving on to item 15, packaging extended producer responsibility, PRPR funding. Can I ask Councillor Holloway to introduce her item?
Thank you, Leader. I am pleased to present a report on the allocation of Packaging Extended Producer Responsibility Funding, commonly known as PEPR, for Thurrock Council in the 2025-26 financial year. This represents a significant moment for our borough. Thurrock has received an allocation of £3.59 million through the government's new PEPR scheme, which fundamentally changes the way that packaging waste is funded in local government. For the first time, the costs of managing packaging waste are being shifted from the local taxpayers to the producers who place these materials on the market. So it's a major step forward in driving environmental responsibility and supporting local authorities to improve recycling and reducing waste. Our current performance on recycling is at 28.5 and sadly well below the national average. This presents both a challenge and a clear opportunity. The funding now available provides us with the means to accelerate our waste and recycling transformation, improve the services we offer residents, and reduce both the environmental and financial costs of waste management in Thurrock. So this paper sets out a comprehensive programme of investment, including establishing a Sustainable Futures and Climate Action Team, launching a borough-wide communications and behavioural change campaign, delivering improvements at our household waste recycling centre, preparing for simpler recycling legislation, strengthening our approach to waste enforcement, offsetting the cost pressures created by population growth and new housing, and funding the strategic staffing required to deliver all these changes. All of these initiatives have been carefully aligned with our municipal waste strategy, our climate emergency commitments, and our financial recovery objectives. Cabinet is asked tonight to approve these proposed allocations, so in doing so we can ensure that every pound of this new funding is targeted towards measurable improvements, helping us to raise recycling rates, deliver better value for money, and create a cleaner, greener and more sustainable Thurrock.
Thank you, Councillor Holloway. Does anybody have any questions? No? No? Very good. No? Okay. Would you like to read your recommendations?
Cabinet to approve the proposed allocations of PEPR funding as set out in this report.
Agreed? Thank you. Moving on to item 16. Procurement of Environmental Enforcement Services contract from 2026 to 2029. Can I ask Councillor Heath to introduce the item?
Thank you, Leader. So I'm pleased to bring this report to Cabinet. It's been submitted to seek Cabinet approval to procure an external provider for environmental enforcement between 2026 to 2029 with a potential 2-year extension. This model has been used by the Council since 2017 and has been proven to be the most cost-efficient and value-for-money model available. We all understand that this type of offending can blight communities, and ensuring the Council has the ability and the resources to enforce such matters is critical in improving our borough and ensuring residents see action being taken when others try to ruin the communities. Through the recommendations found at section 2.1, the Cabinet will allow officers to progress this procurement process, with the final decisions on awarding the contract being delegated to the monitoring officer and section 151 officer, who will do this in consultation with myself, the portfolio holder. So the tender procurement process is to take place within the government framework and will therefore be introduced when the current contracts expire in March 2026, subject to satisfactory tenders. Thank you for your time and consideration of this proposal.
Do we have any questions? No? John. Okay, Councillor Kemp.
Yeah, I understand the need for caution and to make sure that we cover costs, but I have to say that I'm a little disappointed that we haven't looked harder at an in-house bid. I think that having a service like this in-house gives us the opportunity to not only prosecute and issue fixed penalty notices, but it gives us the capacity to do some education on the streets as well, which is really difficult to do within a contract like this. So I understand the reasons for it, but remain just a little disappointed. And we all see in our surgeries and our wards all the time issues like fly tipping, which are clearly on the rise. There is a perception that as this company will be being paid by results, by a percentage of each fixed penalty notice that they issue, that they will do what we see happening all the time, which is hanging about in car parks outside supermarkets, the college across the road, and issuing lots and lots of tickets for easy targets, and not actually going after fly tippers and the like. So I guess the question is, what are we going to do to make sure that we're focusing on those environmental crimes that really do blight our community? And the other question is, because I can't get a sense of it from within this, will this mean a greater number of enforcement officers on the street than we have now, or will it be largely the same?
Thank you for your questions, Councillor. So the resource limitations and recruitment difficulties mean that an in-house capacity cannot meet the current demand. Outsourcing will allow for scalable and self-funding models to address high-volume environmental offences without burdening the Council's budget any further. And the Council will retain control of enforcement policies, so it won't lead to excessive ticketing and fines. just an increase in revenue. The contractor must follow the council's guidelines, and the contract performance will be closely monitored through KPIs and monthly reviews with the management team within the service. So as far as the number of people on the streets, so I'm not sure if that will stay the same or if there will be an increase, but I can find that out for you.
Yeah, just briefly, and I understand the rationale, and I kind of fully embrace that. What I'm still not getting a sense of is how we are going to make sure that whoever we end up contracting is really going after those big the fly tippers, those kind of environmental criminals, rather than just going for the easy option. And I'd just like to get a bit of comfort that will be captured through the procurement process.
Yeah, there will be KPIs that they have to adhere to and everything, and we will ensure that everything is monitored, and that any like you say, the big fly tips and everything that will still all lead to prosecutions and everything that are currently happening.
Thank you. Just that I'm reading this report right, is this report about minor offences and not the big stuff like the fly tipping? And am I reading that right? I thought that this was more about the fly tipping and the dog fouling and the small items rather than the big items. Thank you. Maybe an officer could just that I've read that right.
Thank you, Leader. And Michael Deneen, the Assistant Director for Community Protection and Enforcement. Just to give you clarity around that, Councillor, our current in-house provision will remain the same as 4 officers. They deal with complex matters such as extensive fly tips, whereby companies may be involved and the like. That will continue to be monitored internally and prosecuted as you suggest. This offending mainly deals with littering, fly postering, as well as breaches of our PSPO area within the town centre. This is quite a resource-intensive piece of work, so therefore this is passed to an external company through the current tender process, and this is what this paper suggests we continue to do.
Thank you, Mike. John, did you need to come back on that? No, you're okay with that, Councillor Heath. Any more questions on that? No. Can I just point out that on the recommendations point 2, could you just make sure that when you read it and for record that you use your portfolio? There's been a typo in the report, and at the moment it's still saying member for place and environment. Can you just make sure that for record that you use your own title, please, that's on the front of your report? Does that make sense? Okay, thank you. If you'd like to read your recommendation.
So the recommendation is number 2.11, approve the procurement of the Environmental Enforcement Services contract for a term of 3 years from 2026, with an option for the Council to extend for 1 or more periods of up to a maximum of 2 additional years. And 2.12, delegate authority to the Executive Director of Corporate Services and the Chief Finance Officer following consultation with the Cabinet Member for civil enforcement to undertake the procurement process and award the contract.
Is that agreed?
Agreed.
Thank you, everybody. Item 17, quarter 4 provisional financial outturn report. Can I ask Councillor Morris Cook to present the report?
I'm flashing.
Oh,
Okay, that's fine. Thank you. which is not the position I wanted to be in. So I have great pleasure in presenting the Q4 provisional financial outturn for 24-25. And before I sort of do my summary, I really would like to pay tribute to the financial teams that have actually worked incredibly hard. There is a number of reports that are due at this time, and it has been really tough going for them. So thank you very much for all their hard work that they've done. So, this report outlines the provisional financial outturn for the fiscal year 24-25. The figures presented are subject to final audit and may be subject to minor adjustments. However, no significant changes are anticipated. The report covers the following areas: General Fund, delivery against revenue savings targets, transformation funding, General Fund reserves, housing revenue account, capital programme, dedicated schools grant, asset disposal programme. The Council sets a total expenditure budget of £252 million for 24-25, which comprises of the operating budget of £172 million and the Treasury budget of £79.7. To achieve a balanced budget, the Council secured exceptional financial support through a capitalisation direction of £96.4 million. The provisional outturn indicates an overall underspend of £21.8 million. Whilst this is a positive outcome that supports the Council's debt reduction strategy, it is essential to understand and validate the causes of such an unplanned underspend. This has contributed to the slight delay in the publication of this report. To strengthen the financial governance and forecasting, the following actions are going to be implemented with immediate effect. There will be a comprehensive review of budget forecasting methodologies, rebasing of budgets where appropriate, and evaluation of the budget growth assumptions. A review of the current capital programme and an ongoing full review of the HRA. The £21.8 million underspend provides the Council with an opportunity to reduce the resilience on exceptional financial support, therefore lowering the debt level, increasing the reserves to support the Council's transformation roadmap, and ensure financial resilience in the face of future challenges. Detailed financial performance by Directorate is included in the full report for your information. The HRA reported an underspend of £5.3 million. The HRA capital programme experienced a slippage of £9.6 million. Both areas are currently undergoing a comprehensive financial review. The General Fund had a slippage of £8.4 million that has been identified. Timely and structured reviews will be conducted to monitor and validate all capital projects going forward. Applicable to both the HRA and General Fund, the capital outturn is presented to Cabinet for information only. Part of the review process needs to make recommendations about whether the slippages are proved and how the scheme under or overspends are managed. There will be a report back to Cabinet in September. The asset disposals. The current asset disposal strategy is under review. The objective is to explore the feasibility of accelerating the asset sales to achieve the remaining balance of £79 million. I'm happy to take questions. Just don't make me too technical.
Thank you, Councillor Morris. Questions first, Councillor Hartstein. Oh, another one. I'll turn yours off now.
Thank you. Thank you, Leader. Thank you, Councillor Morris-Cook. Could you turn to page 205, please? And I'm looking at 1.19, and I know you've sort of covered it briefly, but just in terms of, so my question there is, I'll just read the phrase and then just to ask. So the General Fund Capital Programme has a provisional outturn of 12.076 million against a budget of 20.629 million, with an anticipated slippage of 8.441 million, which is 41%. Just to say, what caused the slippage in that programme, please? And I've got a follow-up, but I'll do that one after. Thank you.
I await your follow-up. So basically what's caused some of the slippage is that projects have not started. There have been some delays in some projects, and that is why the team will be conducting a full review of the General Capital Fund, so that there could be some money allocated to projects that are not going to happen within next year. So that money can be caught back and reallocated to projects that are more needy or that can be done further. Some of the money that's actually come back, like 0.7 million, like 700,000 that's been released, is actually gone to spend to forward to some of the overspends that were in projects. That sort of balanced it out. But it is something that the team are really focused on looking deeply into the capital programmes to make sure they're clear gate reviews at each level to make sure that, one, it's happening, two, we're on track financially and there are no surprises. So as cabinet members, I'm expecting that you'll be sat with your directors going through all of any of the capital projects, so you will know exactly where you are with each of them at each time.
Thank you, Councillor Harding.
Thank you for just follow. I'll just tweak the question a little bit then. Just in terms of that answer, so thank you. Are there risks, or have we identified any risks of sort of further delays or any costs escalating? I'm thinking sort of particularly about the capital projects. Is there any risks going? Thank you.
There's always risk, but it's about managing the risk. And, with the team that we now have in place, risk is really something that's focused on. And it is, as we've said before, as a council under this administration, would we ever tackle, the A13 widening? Would we ever tackle, rebuilding or knocking down Stamford State? Absolutely not. It's not in our remit. So those are the type of things that we have to make sure that when we're looking at capital programmes, they are applicable and they're within the council's remit.
I'll have Councillor Watson, then Councillor Kemp.
Thank you. Can I just go on the back of what Councillor Hardison's just said? So if you go through the report, we've got a lot of slippages, but at the same time we've got a lot of overspend and we've got underspend. So what steps are you taking to improve the forecasting, the accuracy going forward?
So that is something, are you talking about the capital programme or are you talking about in total? Because if you're talking about in total, it is something that's really critical, and it is something that's been highlighted that going forward, and the forecasting is really paramount to get it right. Rebasing the balance, the budget base is something that's really critical. So, I'm sure if there's any directors that have, we've got that £250,000 there, we just keep that to one side. If it's not been used, that's going to be taken out of the budget, because it's really critical that we have accurate figures so we can fully predict going forward.
Did you want to come back? Yep.
Yeah. So on the back of that then, so how can you ensure that future budgets will be more closely aligned to actual performance of the project?
So it's all about having more timely reviews with the directors, with obviously, heads of service, with portfolio holders, to actually make sure that whilst there is a check that's done, we're going to look more closely at exactly what position we're in, and looking forward, trying to extrapolate through when we know that things are going to increase, and making sure that we've got the right trackers in place to potentially forecast different things that could be happening.
Councillor Kemp.
Thanks. I'll just start by saying I think I've got more confidence in what's in front of us here this evening than I've had in kind of sets of accounts like this for many years, and I think that's testament to the team that's been brought together and the hard work and the diligence of that team. I just want to pick up on a couple of things that have been said. It is absolutely essential that the council is laser focused on delivering those things that local authorities are charged with delivering. We shouldn't be widening trunk roads, and we shouldn't be building railway stations, we shouldn't be demolishing railway stations, shouldn't be doing any of that stuff. We need to be concentrating fully on what it is that local authorities are charged with doing, or else we are never ever going to finish that improvement journey. I want to pick up on risk. I think that we've come a long way on the way that we understand risk. I still don't think that's embedded. It's certainly not embedded as far as members are concerned, and I just don't want to see any kind of complacency slipping in and kind of declaring victory early because we are really not there. And the last thing I just want to say, because we mustn't lose sight of it, you know, this is a good outturn, but it's still dependent on having to borrow effectively £96 million to make it work, and we've had to borrow £72 million in order to make this year's budget work as well. You know, we are still in an absolutely perilous position, and I don't want anybody kind of running away with the idea that things are starting to look rosy, because they're far, far from it.
No, and I really do welcome those comments, and absolutely, you know, there is no way, you know, as well as I like to celebrate, because I think, like you, it's a really good paper, and it's very detailed, and it's building confidence. There is no way we get the streamers out and burst the bottles of champagne everywhere, because, you know, when we look at our overall debt being about 837 million currently without the interest on it, there is no way we should be doing that. But as you say, we've now got really strong focus, which is going on. Referring to what you were talking about with risk, you know, whilst we've got now head of risk and are doing a very good job, you know, we're getting back into auditing different areas. You know, we've got 25 to do, and that they're working through very, very, you know, in a very planned manner. We are actually currently recruiting for the risk team to absolutely strengthen that, because that is absolutely critical for us to understand any time we do something. And as a council, we have to be risk adverse on a lot of things. We are not in a position to gamble. We're not in a position to do anything other than be absolutely risk adverse to protect our residents from what has happened in the past. So thank you.
Councillor Morris-Cook, I do just have one. I absolutely agree that we need to strengthen our oversight of risk and financial oversight too. And one thing that we do need to do is make sure that members can spot not what's in a report, but not what's not in a report as well, so that, you know, and question and be inquisitive and ask those questions. And it's something that's certainly come up at Finance Improvement Board, that we keep that in scope to make sure that we keep upskilling the members of this council to be able to read these reports. It's okay, you know, coming to Cabinet and hearing them, you know, but we've got to understand, everybody, all 49 of us should be able to look at this report and understand, you know, what that all means. And we will be putting on some extra training, so, which I know that you're on top of and making sure that we get that. But my question is on page 205 and 1.17, it's the HRA revenue account that was underspent by over 5 million. You know, I was quite shocked to read this in a report. So, you know, do we know how that underspend happened? You know, because it's ring-fenced, it's HRA, and, you know, we should have a functioning HRA that spends what comes in as it's planned to. So do we know what's happened there and how we're going to put that right?
So, whilst I don't know the minutiae of the reasoning behind that, as I say, we are aware that there is a full review going on with the HRA to really understand, because I do think some things have slipped. I do think it's has been some slippage as well, and different areas. But hopefully the HRA full review will be managed. You know, I can't put a time on it, but I would like to think that it will be coming to Cabinet pre-Christmas, so we have a full review of it, and then we would understand further that. Going back to what you were talking about with risk, there will be further risk training going out to members that is actually probably more appropriate and really more real for them to really understand, so they can put it in sort of council authority terms and get the understanding of what that risk means. Are you happy for me to go through War and Peace now?
I am
with
just
the
going to ask you to
recommendations?
read it was your recommendations that got me to make everyone read theirs tonight. So if you'd like to read your recommendations.
Yeah, okay. So, 2.1, to note the provisional revenue and capital outturn for 24-25 as detailed in the report. Paragraphs 4.1, 1 to 4 and 1.3. Approve the underspend of 5.844 million against the Directorate budgets, which includes eligible expenditure against the Contained Outbreak Management Fund, to be used to reduce the Council's estimated level of exceptional financial support. Paragraph 4.1.3.
Agreed.
Approve the underspend on the corporate cost budget of 6.403 million is transferred to the Council's Transformation Reserve, paragraph 4.1.2. Approve the transfer of Thurrock's share from the National Non-Domestic Rates Pool of 1.645 million to a new revenue reserve to be utilised for the implications of NNDR rebasing, paragraph 1.1.3. Approve the estimated underspend of 7.913 million against the Treasury cost budget to be used to reduce the Council's estimated level of exceptional financial support, paragraph 4.1.6. Approve the transfer of the underspend on the Housing Revenue Account HRA of 5.309 million to the HRA reserved titled Balances HRA, section 4.13.7. Note the exceptional financial support requirement for 24-25 will be subject to the completion of the external audit of the Council's statement of accounts. Phew.
Thank you.
And it's me again.
Item 18, deep breath, Councillor Morris-Cook, it's the Annual Treasury Management Report 24-25.
So, before I go into the detail of the Annual Treasury Management Report, I want to be perfectly clear. The debt situation this Council faces was wholly avoidable. It should never have come to this. If the Council had good governance and those who oversaw the Council's finances in the past had done the jobs they were elected and employed to do, carefully managing public money and protecting residents, we would not be facing the level of debt today. Now it is our residents who are paying the price for that dereliction of duty, for the decisions made without proper checks, without accountability, and without the care and attention that public money deserves. Moving forward, we are determined to manage the Council's money better, with accountability, transparency and honesty. The Treasury Management Report is one of the most important documents in this Council produces, as it confirms the Council operated within its 24-25 management framework. It provides a clear commentary on how we're doing managing the Council's finances, our agreed operational parameters and performance. There are already successes we can build upon. We have reduced our exposure to risky investments by prioritising security and liquidity, protecting residents' money while ensuring we can meet our day-to-day obligations. We have set clear and prudent borrowing limits that align with our capital plans so we can continue to invest in local priorities like housing and infrastructure. We have strengthened our monitoring and reporting, allowing councillors and residents to see exactly how money is managed, with regular updates that build accountability for every decision we make. Above all, this is about a responsible stewardship, turning the page and ensuring the Council's finances work for the people we serve. It is about creating stability for the future while protecting the services that our residents rely on. I commend this report and are happy to answer questions.
Anybody got questions for Val on this report? No. Okay. It certainly shows, how far we've come, when we were sitting here, just a couple of years ago, and the reports that was coming in front of us certainly wasn't to this standard, and there's certainly, the journey that we've been on to get us to this has been nothing more than phenomenal, really. But just one thing that I do want to pick up is in the Commissioner's comments, and we talked about it in the previous report, and that is about making sure that members can scrutinise these reports and everything that comes in front of them. And it is a recommendation from the Commissioners. So I think that sooner rather than later that we get this finance training in the diary, but not just on one night, maybe give an option of 2 nights, because so often people miss out on that training for that year just because they've had the cheek to go away on holiday, or you know, they might have booked something with their family on that night, and then it's a mark that they haven't done it and it doesn't come round again. So if you could just take that away as an action, Councillor Morris Cook. But again, I commend the work of the officers to get us to this place.
Absolutely.
And it's a really good, true reflection of where we are as a council. So thank you.
What I would suggest is that every member actually reads the Treasury Management Strategy, because that is the document that underpins everything within the finance and is probably one of the key documents of the finance department. And that is what this report is based on. It's like marking what the strategy says. Have we done it? Are we doing it? So I do recommend that every sort, and if anyone has any questions, please don't come to me on it. No, I'm happy to take questions on it, but also I know the finance team, you know, in a timely manner, obviously not when they're closing statements of accounts and things, would be more than happy to take people and talk them through it, because it when you read it and you start going through it, you really do understand what it means and how important it is and how you can hold people to account for it. So.
Thank you.
Right,
And
recommendations.
if there's no questions, then we'll ask Val to do a recommendation.
So 2.1, approve the prudential indicators for 24-25 and the Treasury indicators included in the report at paragraphs 8.2, 9.5, 10.1 and 11. To note the annual Treasury Management Report for 24-25 and the progress towards service objectives. Approve the inclusion of the LVNAV money market funds in the Council's investment strategy at paragraph 15.2.
Thank you, Councillor Morris-Cook. We're now moving on to item 19, Facilities Service Management Contract. Can I ask Councillor Heath to introduce the item?
Thank you, Leader. So this report seeks approval to commence a tender process for the provision of facilities management contracts to deliver hard and soft facilities management covering planned and reactive repairs, cleaning, security and associated services to support the Council's corporate operational buildings. These new contracts will replace the existing hard FM and security contract managed by Housing and the cleaning contract managed by FM, which are due to expire on the 31st of March 2026. All contracts have been extended and therefore the Council is required to procure new services. So consolidating facilities management contracts of hard and soft FM services can offer several advantages, including cost savings, improved service quality and streamlined management processes. The Council can potentially negotiate better rates, ensure consistent service delivery across all operational buildings and simplify contract management. The Council's social value framework will be set out in the tender documents and bidders will be asked to propose added value initiatives that will enhance their bid and which will be subsequently incorporated in the contractual requirements. Typically with this type of service, provision, apprenticeships and using local suppliers would feature in the evaluation criteria, as would green initiatives and the evidence to show a commitment for the reduction in the carbon footprint. This route will ensure opportunities for SMEs. The new contract will be in place for an initial period of 3 years with an option to extend for a further 2 years via single-year extensions. This will save frequent re-tendering and secure better value for money. Any future contract that is procured must retain the flexibility to permit other local authorities to use it post local government reorganisation. Thank you.
Thank you for your report. Does anybody have any questions? No, all pretty straightforward for this one. So if you'd like to just go to your recommendations.
So the recommendations are 2.1, that Cabinet approve the commencement of the procurement of a facilities management contract for the delivery of hard and soft FM services for a three-year period with an option to extend for a further 2 annual extensions, which will be 3 + 1 + 1, commencing from the 1st of April 2026. 2.2, that delegated authority be given to the Interim Chief Operationals Lead place in consultation with the Cabinet Member for Public Protection, Constitutional and Civic Affairs to decide the appropriate procurement route for the delivery of the hard and soft FM contracts for the next 3 years, with an option to extend for a further 2 annual extensions, so that would be 3 + 1 + 1, subject to performance commencing the 1st of April 2026. And that delegated authority, 2.3, that delegated authority be given to the Interim Chief Operationals Lead place in consultation with the Cabinet Member for Public Protection, Constitutional and Civic Affairs and the S151 officer to award the contracts referred to above.
Thank you. All agreed? Okay, thank you. We are now moving on to item 20, which is lettings at Botany Way. Please note that this report has an exempt appendix. If members wish to discuss this item, Cabinet will need to consider to take a vote on whether Cabinet should enter into an exempt session. Are we okay to stay open? Nobody needs to go exempt? No, thank you. Councillor Heath, can you introduce your item, please? Thank you.
Thank you, Leader. So this report provides a summary and seeks approval to 4 proposed new short-term lease proposals at Botany Way in Purfleet. The temporary lettings of these businesses were arranged on a tenancy at will agreement at fixed rentals, and under these terms the rent could not be reviewed, with the objective of increasing revenue income from these lettings but still enabling the council to obtain vacant possession of these sites within a reasonable time frame, that is 2 years. We are in the process of terminating these tenancy at will agreements and placing the occupants on leases for a term of 5 years. Leases will be for a 2-year term certain, by including a mutual option for the council as landlord or the tenant to break the lease after 2 years by giving 6 months prior notice, which will enable us to undertake the regeneration of Purfleet Industrial Estate. The current combined rent roll for these 4 sites is £511,000 per annum, and the proposed lettings in the first year will increase the rent roll by £169,000 per annum to £680,000 per annum. In 2026, 2 of the proposed leases are subject to stepped increased rents, meaning that rents on these 4 sites in year 2 will increase to a combined total income of £710,000 per annum, an increase in current income for the 4 sites of £199,000 per annum. The last rent review was in 2024. The council is required to demonstrate that it is maximising returns while determining a fair and competitive rental rate, which reflects the current market conditions and the property's value. We have done this, and it is included as the confidential appendix. All 4 tenants have agreed to the heads of terms and have indicated their desire to remain in situ. Cabinet is recommended to approve the proposed lettings to the tenants on the terms set out in the report. Thank you.
Does anybody have any questions on this report? No? I'd just like to move straight to your recommendations then, please.
Thank you. So, recommendations 2.1. Approve the proposed lettings to the tenants on the terms set out in order to increase the revenue income to the council over the 2 years term certain as follows. 2.1.1. Year 1, increase in rental income £169,000 per annum, total rental £680,000 per annum. Year 2, increase in rental income £199,000 per annum, total rent £710,000 per annum.
All agreed? Thank you. We're now moving on to item 21, end user equipment procurement. Councillor Morris. Oh, again.
Sorry. Sorry, I've just got another one.
Oh, sorry. Okay.
Um,
I
af-
should have picked that up.
After negotiations with the current office occupier, Rufino, the council proposed a 5-year lease with 2-year terms certain and a rent of £200,000 per annum, payable from the 25th of December 2025. An increase of £100,000 per annum. The retrospective rental increase from 25th of December 25 was negotiated to bring the letting in line with Kelmsley's rental advice and allow the council to benefit from additional income from the date of the new lease is signed. The market rent for this land for 2 years term certain is believed to be in the region of £600,000. No, sorry. Thank you.
Thank you. So this is about end user equipment procurement. So the context is that really the council recognises that its workforce are the most valuable asset. To enable staff to perform their roles effectively and efficiently, it is essential that they are equipped with modern, reliable and fit for purpose technology. Currently, the standard life cycle for IT equipment is 5 years for a laptop, 3 years for mobile phones. However, there are approximately 50 employees still operating with equipment that is over 7 years old. There's 360 employees that are operating with equipment that's over 6 years old. This results in performance issues, reduced productivity. Across the organisation, there are approximately 2,000 laptops in active use. Due to sustained financial pressures in recent years, the council has had to prioritise core delivery over IT investment. As a result, the replacement and upgrade of end-user devices has been deferred, leading to a significant technology debt. The issue, which is now critical, particularly with the requirement to transition to Windows 11, which many older devices are not compatible with. Additionally, the council's current IT hardware supply contract is due to expire in October, further necessitating timely action. The Strategic Approval Panel has endorsed the need to address this issue. The report outlines the options available to refresh the council's IT estate with a focus on ensuring value for money, technical compatibility and long-term sustainability. 2 primary options are under consideration. 1, leasing, which has advantage. You have predictable costs, regular refresh cycles, inclusive of support and warranty services. Disadvantages, it does require securing operational expenditure. The second is a capital purchase. The advantages are we own the assets outright. The disadvantages are there's higher upfront costs, increased responsibility for repairs and asset tracking, potential surplus equipment risks, particularly in the context of the lower government reorganisation. When we look at mobile phones, to reduce the need for issuing separate mobile phones to staff, the council is promoting the use of eSIM technology, which allows employees to separate personal and business communications on a single device, improving efficiency and reducing hardware costs. Mobile phones are now only being issued where there is a specific operational requirement. So what this paper is asking for us to go to procurement and to look at the potential options. Happy for questions.
Does anybody have any questions? No. Okay. No, it's just a comment that, it beggars belief that we keep getting ourselves in these places, and we uncover more and more, so, yeah. But we'll get there in the end.
It's one of those things when you suddenly, everyone's really tight for money and people think cost savings. The first thing they do is they stop advertising, they stop training and they stop supporting their technology. And that just comes and reduces demand. They haven't got the right technology and the staff aren't trained. and it is really hard then to catch up. So yeah, we're really on a massive catch up. So there is a lot to read here. So 2.1, to commence the procurement of a preferred provider for 2.11 IT equipment requiring pre and post sales advisory and support services, and 2.1.2 end user IT equipment spares and repairs purchases, as described in this report, using the CCS Frameworks Technology Products and Associated Services RM 6098 for a period of 3 years from 1st of October 2025, with an option to extend for a further 1 year, conditional on satisfactory performance on a budgeted value set out in the appendix. If 2.1 is agreed, to delegate the award of the contract and authorisation to the purchase of the Executive Director of Corporate Services in consultation with the relevant portfolio holder. I'm more than happy if that needs to come back to Cabinet, that I'm happy for that to come back to Cabinet, which I think is probably the right thing to do. So we just really would like that changed on the recommendation. The Director of, so it comes back to Cabinet, please. Okay.
So can I suggest you just remove that recommendation, because otherwise the default position is it would come back to Cabinet.
Thank you. Then we'll have that removed, please. Thank you.
It's me again.
Migrating to the IT data centre to note this report as 4 exempt appendices. If members wish to discuss this item, the Cabinet will need to consider that they take a vote whether Cabinet should enter an exempt session. All okay to stay in an open session? Okay, thank you. Councillor Roberts, please present the report.
Thank you. So the council's current on-premises data infrastructure, which is located in the bottom of the building, is approaching end of life. The servers are outdated, increasingly unreliable, and pose a significant operational risk. Modern best practice across the public sector is to transition to cloud-based infrastructure. This approach not only mitigates risk, but supports environmental sustainability and aligns with the Council's strategic vision of becoming a more digital, modern and accessible authority. Although a move to the cloud infrastructure was proposed over a decade ago, I do believe under a previous portfolio, Councillor Victoria Holloway, the project again was not progressed. As a result, the Council now faces a critical juncture where immediate action is required to avoid a service disruption and data integrity risks. Migrating to the cloud will enhance data security and resilience, reduce physical infrastructure dependency, support the Council's digital transformation agenda and align with the practices of all other Essex authorities of whom operate cloud-based systems. While cloud migration presents clear benefits, it's not without risk. Key considerations include data migration integrity and continuity, system compatibility and integration, project delivery within agreed timelines and budgets. To manage the risk, the project will be governed through a series of gateway reviews, ensuring progress is monitored and corrective actions are taken as needed. When we look at the impact of local government reorganisation, it has to be factored into all strategic decisions. Transitioning to a cloud-based infrastructure strengthens our position by aligning with the digital standards already adopted by other Essex authorities, facilitating future integration and collaboration. Considering the above, it's recommended the Council proceeds to the procurement stage for cloud migration services. This will enable the timely replacement of legacy infrastructure and ensure that the Council remains operationally resilient and digitally forward-looking.
Thank you. Without straying anywhere, has anybody got any questions that they need to ask? Yeah, Councillor Watson.
Just a statement, really. I really welcome this report because it's about time that we are now, I feel like now we're becoming into the 21st century to actually go into iCloud. And the thing that's always been worried me is our servers are sitting in the basement that anything could happen onto. So I really welcome this, and as long as the contract comes back for us to have a look at,
Absolutely.
I'll be really comfortable with going forward with it. Thanks.
And I think that for anybody that's looking in that thinks that we're not had a really good crawl over this, I think we spent maybe an hour and a half looking at all of the exempts in a pre-cabinet meeting, and I think that, you know, we're all confident that the recommendations and what we've recommended tonight and accepted, you know, we've all sort of really had a good look at this. So just for anybody looking in that thinks that we're doing this without really scrutinising the reports in front of us. So I'm happy for you to go to the recommendations if there's really no questions. Thank you.
Which there are a lot. So, 2.1.1, the migration of council's data storage to a solution to a cloud-based solution as soon as reasonably practicable. And if 2.11 is agreed, to commence the procurement of a cloud-based solution as set out in the report via the G-Cloud framework and from the Crown Commercial Service for an initial contract length of 3 years with an option for the council to extend for a further year. Commence the procurement of an external provider to support and facilitate the council's migration of its data to the cloud solution as set out in the report, also using G-Cloud framework. Following the procurement process outlined in 2.1.2, 2.1.3, to bring a report to Cabinet for approval of the award of the contracts. That's your bit, Lee. 2.1.5, if 2.1.1 to 2.1.3 is approved, to agree the transfer of capital funding for the one-off capital cost of 0.307 million from the existing capital budget of 0.525 for the refresh of the Smarter Working Technology and Fixtures budget, project code 10505, to a separate project code 10556, ICT Cloud Solution. I've nearly done. The revenue funding for the one-off and additional costs for year one of the implementation of 25-26 is totalling 0.82 million to be funded from the Council's Transformational Infrastructure Fund, with ongoing revenue costs to be built into the MTFS for 26-27.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. That concludes the business of the meeting this evening, and I now declare the meeting closed at 8:24. Thank you.